This is a new visitor to Newcastle upon Tyne. Welcome. I am Duchess Margaret Cavendish. I should explain myself to you. As for my origin, my parents provided all they could for me, though they died quickly during the British Civil War as royalists. When I was young, I have read many books of varying subject matter in the library. I also love to have an obsession over material comforts like this crown I wear, though people today call this materialism. But to specify, my materialism is different from the idea that there is no spiritual aspects, just material. My wonderful brother helped me discover and learn about these amazing books in the library, but the tutors did not provide me with so much, so I did not like them so much. Then I learned to sew my own clothes. They are lovely, though were seen as masculine by the majority of the British population. Then my queen was kicked out of Britain, exiled. I came to France with her to show my loyalty to her, since I applied to be her maid. From there I met my amazing husband, William Cavendish, who hosted many royal circles for me that starred the greatest philosophers, though I had to work to get myself there. Mainly, I wrote some philosophical works. People were shocked to even see someone like me there, though they were angrier with me, a woman, being there. Then I questioned the people's work on how such science of microscopes could be applied, but that only made them furious. I wanted science to be less abstract and more applicable, though I knew a thing or two about science, also since William owned many microscopes which I did use. They were even in good lighting compared to the other guys which he was using. I continued my strenuous work of writing regardless of what happened in those royal circles, writing even more philosophical books on my own. One of them includes the utopian novel I made called The Blazing World, a travesty of philosophy in the eyes of those men, but alas, those men did not know too much about me and treated me like a woman who was not in her place. Those men even slandered me on my death at 50, calling me mad. But eventually, with the help of my husband, I was able to be taken back to Britain as a duchess. This was amazing. Though I did not expect it, my works did get finally recognized for their philosophical exploration later beyond my death. Those people took their time to appreciate the work I did as a philosopher, and I respect them with utmost clarity. My philosophy comes down to two ideas: nature and materialism. Nature is above all of us and is the maker of our tools. For example, I have a pencil. I view that pencil to be made by nature. If someone were to cut down a tree to make it, it is still done by nature. Nature allowed man to make his great tool. Then my materialism isn't an obsession with material to the point to where we put the material comforts over the spiritual. Instead, it is the material as a part of the spiritual. What I call nature is spiritual part of the material. From those two ideas, there's my philosophy. Panpsychism, a term for materials having minds that are like us, which disagrees with the philosophy of Aristotle, who put the human souls at the highest and are not in the materials who have none. Nature is how materials communicate with us. Here's a summarized example from one of my philosophical works, a dialogue between an oak and man cutting him down. This is an oak tree, and it has the thought of being a part of the forest which is in nature. This thought comes from its mind. The tree's mind does not get lost when it is cut down. Instead, its mind is kept even if the wood is separated and made into different tools. By this view of nature I am recognized to be an early environmentalist, a term for someone that respects nature and advocates for its protection. To tangent for a second, dear visitor, I will add that one cannot be a philosopher without God, since God is the creator of nature and humanity. He is an infinite that we cannot be separated from. And if we are to separate from him, we are not to think about the spiritual, also known as the philosophical. Since the spiritual coexists with the divine, the spiritual then coexists only with God. This angers atheists, but a huge portion of them were not here at my time of the 17th century, so shut it. So shut it. Finally, I have the next idea in my philosophy, not a part of the two ideas earlier to end off. I think people should stay in their place instead of making the questionable decision to revolt against the higher-ups. People like me, the elegant Duchess Margaret Cavendish, know how to run society. These peasants do not. Nor man, nor women. They do not have the resources and knowledge to run society. I entirely despise Descartes, who advocates for a takedown of the nobility to make an equal society by his discourses. Since he believed that everyone was equal in society by his view of virtue, he also noted the nobility to have no point to exist in society by his discourse on method. I especially am one to blame him for how the world is today destroyed by humanity's desire for revolution against people like me. The environment of those wonderful forests has forcibly replaced my machinery and buildings. The screams of suffering from those poor trees and animals are heard through the desks they are deformed into inside those cursed classrooms and the university that has become industrialized in its construction against nature.